Good evening. At this time, I call this High Springs City Commission meeting to order January the 28th at 6:32. Please stand for the invocation by Pastor Humanis from Victor Spring Baptist Churches. You may stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, would you come tonight, Lord, simply just to ask your wisdom and your blessings upon this meeting. Father, these are but just mere men and women, but one who lead the city, Father. And Lord, I just ask, Lord, that you just please bless, Lord. Give them wisdom, Father, to help lead the city in the way that it should go, to bless the people. And Father, be a blessing, Lord, unto you. Father, I know that it's not an easy thing, Lord, to lead a city, Lord, and a lot of these folks have burdens on their hearts, Lord, that they don't mention anybody. And Father, so I pray for those, Lord, here tonight, that you just work in their lives, help them, Lord, with their families, their children. May you bless their homes. And Father, I pray that, Lord, through this meeting tonight, Lord, that you would just have your will to be done. And may you bless, Lord, this great city, protect it, Father, from those who want to hurt it. And Father, I just pray, Lord, you bless each and every single one of those that lead us, Father, in their homes and their lives and in this meeting tonight. We lift up this time to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, that's $1, Mike.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor James.
Here.
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Jameson advised he'd be a few minutes late. Commissioner Weller.
Here.
All right, thank you, ma'am. This time, I entertain a motion to approve of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we start with the meeting tonight, I know we got too many citizens here today.
Yeah.
On today that they memorialized William Kaufman, Bill Kaufman, who served the city of High Springs from 2003 and then 2010. He also served as the mayor in the year 2003 and 2010. So he served 2 terms here at the city of High Springs. If we could, just for a few moments, a moment of silence and remembrance of Commissioner Kaufman. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, presentation will be next. That's the next meeting. And we'll move on to unfinished business. Consider ordinance 2016-01.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance 2016-01, an ordinance of the City of High Springs amending the fiscal year budget for 2015-2016 for the High Springs CRA, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and providing for codification. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2016-01 upon its second and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions? Anyone from the audience? You have anything? No, ma'am? Okay. All those in favor, come and saying aye. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Weller.
Yes.
Vice Mayor James.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, at this time, citizens requesting comments for issues not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Oh, we got a big crowd tonight.
Must be the rain.
Talkative crowd, too.
It means we're doing that good of a job. Nobody's coming to complain.
Okay. Moving on to discuss, consider action in the renaming of US Highway 27. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, at the last meeting, we were given a listing of several street names to consider for First Avenue. And at the same time at that meeting, an individual stood up and suggested another name that really was not a railroad name. And I think from someone who's only been here for about, I think, 12 years now. The individual that was suggested, or the individual that suggested this name, that individual who passed away was Wes Skiles, and he is someone from this city that has done a lot for this community. It was known well worldwide, and so rather than consider a railroad name, I would like to for the commission to consider naming First Avenue Wes Skiles Boulevard. And I'll make a motion to do that.
I'll second. I just got in here. Let's talk about it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, any other discussion? Well, after speaking with, Keith, he is recommending that we use a railroad name. If we're gonna change it, use a railroad name.
He at the last meeting, when we said, and I was the one that actually said that we were told by them that we had to use a railroad name, he stood up there and said, no, they were not going to require us to do a railroad. They would prefer it, but they weren't going to require it.
But he didn't say required, but he said he would rather use a
I understand.
railroad name instead of names.
Well, I think, and not to do, I'm just going to, I think he did say railroad because it identified with the town. So just as a point of discussion.
But as the city, I think we can name it. We have the prerogative to name what we want, to rename it. And I think we should recognize Wes Skiles, and I think that would be an appropriate way to recognize him.
No problem with Skiles, whatever, but you have so many other individuals that made a contribution to this city. You know, I can think of other names that we can also name it out of. Individuals that lived here in High Springs and served High Springs for many, many years. That's one of the problems with West Skiles.
Well, I don't know the gentleman except what I've read, but I think if you're doing, railroad-related streets, I think that's what you need to stick with, rather than mix something else into it.
Is everybody in favor of changing it from Highway 27, or am I the only one that doesn't really care?
Well, that need to be discussed too. Do we want to change it?
I think we should.
Well, I think the one thing is you're going to have to do something regardless, because from the break off down to here, that's not US 27, that's alternate 27.
From where?
From where it branches off down to the street light, that's not US 27.
That's all.
It's
Through West
alternate.
Street.
From 441?
From 441, from Jim Douglas to,
That's not true. That's not
It's
true.
alternate 20, it says it's alternate 27.
That's what they've named it. They've named it West US 27. That's the new name for it.
So what's this out here?
It's all the way
US.
through.
Right.
Yes.
What I'm saying is from where it breaks to the light isn't. It's alternate 27.
What you mean, break from the light?
From
Well, I-
US 4441 up to the light, center light there at Main Street, right along where
Yeah.
that runs in front of the community theater, that one strip there, from US 441, where we split off come into town. They've got a street name up there that says West US 27. That's what they've named it at this point, and we're saying that's not 27
27 doesn't start till the street light, Main Street.
when you turn.
That's alternate 27 from here to where it branches.
But it's all called from Bell's up to there. It's West 27.
That's what they're
they've got it
calling it.
named.
That's what they've renamed it.
And from here on out, it's West
27.
27.
Right.
All of First Ave is West 27.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though from the light to Jim Douglas is technically alternate 27. Because 27 actually goes to the right to Newberry at the red light.
Yes, yeah, 27 comes this way and then turns
But
left.
this gonna be West 27.
Well,
So what they calling that going, what's that street there?
27. US
It's not-
27, it's just US 27.
But it's not considered as West US 27.
That's what we're saying. We're saying there's a problem with this being called over here from 441 up to the light.
So what's the problem? We're trying to figure what the problem is.
With what they presented at the last meeting by it being called West US 27, we're saying there really isn't a West US 27. We're saying that when you come up, if you're coming up 27 and you come to the light and you're looking for US 27, you're going to turn left and go out towards the river. You're not going to go that way, even though they're calling that West US 27.
But they got average point to 27. Even when you come off 441, it's an alternate 20 and 27.
Yes, alternate.
Right. So I'm still kind of confused. How people gonna be confused?
Well, let's say this I think we need to have a name and have the name go from there all the way down. I think where you branch off from Bev's all the way down should be the same. And then the numbers are gonna stay the same.
Right.
We don't have to worry about the numbers. That way, that whole street, from when you branch off down to River Glen or whatever the guy said it is, then it's all the same name. Then we solve it, and then the numbers stay the same, and then you just have the one name.
Well, right, because we haven't, I guess, really decided.
Wait, let's stop for a minute. We have a motion on the floor right now.
Right.
About West Scout. So we need to vote on that one first, and then we discuss.
Mr. Mayor, just to confuse the issue further, you have a pretty complex procedure for naming a city street under your ordinances. And I'm not saying it's something we shouldn't do or should do or any of that. There is a procedure you have to follow. And you find it in Article 66-77, purpose and intent. Then you go through the process of 66-78, the approval of naming a building or a street or public property. And then you go to 66-82, and this is city initiation of a city street naming process. And basically what it does is it says you ought to get a biographical sketch. City manager is charged with the duty of bringing before you a biographical sketch of the individual, and then the property is posted, and you have to wait 15 days, and then you can ask your resolution. And so that's just from a procedural standpoint, something that your code provides for. I'm not sure that I've seen the complexity that you have in your code on an issue like this before. I don't know if there was some issue in the past that created this sort of complexity, but it is what you have, and I would recommend that if you decide on a name for this street or any other streets, that we need to go through the process.
But we can still vote on it tonight if we want to proceed.
Absolutely right.
I mean, I know we have to go follow the ordinance and go
So what
down
you
that
would be
path,
doing,
but we're voting on whether we want to proceed when doing
that's
that.
correct. You'd be directing me and the city manager's office to proceed with the code.
Yes.
Now an appropriate time? There's never an appropriate time for me to speak, I know. Paul Regensdorf, 420 Northwest First Avenue in the old days. Now 200 and gazillion Northwest, I don't know what. This is a topic that touches upon me and Lucy and the Grady House at least as much as anyone else in this city, I think. She and I stood up here and argued in favor of going with the county system because it made sense, it's good for the city, it saved the city, hopefully, a lot of money. The idea of changing the streets seemed like a minimal point because almost every rational person except those at the sheriff's department realized that there are ways to do it by keeping the old street names. Nevertheless, whatever happened in the process, that went out the window, and now we've got these numbers that make absolutely no sense, except that they're based on a 00 city street avenue that's located 30 miles away from here. It's not based on safety, I can assure you of that. But it appears that we're stuck with that, at least for the time being. We've gone to bat for the city. The city needs to go to bat with people. First of all, Mr. Jameson, I don't think that the road from Main Street to 441 is alternate 27. There is an alternate 27. It's located far away from here. And I don't think 27 comes up from Newberry, takes a left at the traffic light. There's nothing that's 27 that way. So you've got to change that name. That's just not right. You know, I hate lawyers, but darn it, Mr. Walker here raised a procedure for renaming streets. Critically important. I hate to see people just pulling names out of left field because sure as heck, the day you vote for it, the next day the person turns out to have been a child molester and nobody knew about it, and you're stuck with that name on the city street or the whatever it is. So I think his point is an absolutely excellent one, and that is don't get me wrong, I know nothing about Wes Skiles. I think he's probably a wonderful man, and I personally am in favor of that name as well as any other. But you got to follow the procedure, and you got to look into it. It just makes I hate it when people start naming streets. But this is going to have to be named West 20. I mean, our address is 24042 West US 27. It sounds like we're in the middle of a cornfield. It is already causing us problems. Nobody can find the Grady house. You know, the used car lot a couple blocks up from us doesn't care what the address is. But we do. We bring thousands of people a year into the city to spend their money in the city, and people can't find us. And it sounds like we're in the middle of a cornfield. Now, we're going to be 24042 West Skiles Boulevard. That's a small step in the right direction. I would strongly urge that we do this. The numbers, if there's any way to do something about the numbers, I would hope that we can. Again, I have spoken about this before, and I don't think anyone's listening, or at least I don't get much feedback. We've got to try to preserve the spirit of this small town as a cohesive small town and not just part of some amalgamated Alachua County. And this renumbering of streets has really caused a problem in that regard. In your neighborhood, the fact that your street address went from 1327 to some 240 number maybe doesn't matter much, but to the businesses in the heart of this town, it makes a lot of difference. To us, it does. People cannot find us. Every single day we have trouble having people locate us by Gmail, by their phones, by MapQuest, by whatever, by Google Maps. So contacting Google Maps is a small thing. Cars have GPS systems. They're not going to be changed for years. So whatever you do in this regard, number one, I strongly urge a change in the name. Number one. Number two, I spent an hour looking on Google and everywhere for railroad names to try to find one that sounded pretty good. And I'll be damned if I could find one that wasn't too offensive. And I couldn't. And so Wes Skiles, as far as I know, is a wonderful man who certainly did great things for this general community. And I would, in the absence of a railroad name or something better, Regensdorf Road sounded pretty good to me, but I didn't know if that was going to fly. Grady Way was another possibility. If neither of those get a second, then I would suggest Wes Skiles. And then the final point is, and I know that somebody in the sheriff's department is going to scream about this. Well, when that happens, I want 5 of you to scream back. I would strongly urge that we try to find a way to post under the street signs that say 294th Way, which is in the middle of a cow field as far as anyone else knows, a little sign that said formerly 3rd Avenue, formerly 2nd Street. Something that keeps not only the sense of community, but shows people how to get to those places that do care about their address. And every day that goes by, I care about that address more, and I see it going away. So, A, follow the law. Darn it, lawyers ought to say that. And thank you, Scott, for saying that. Follow the law. It is an important thing to do when you name streets. I hate to see things named for people willy-nilly. And I don't think that's what the the commissioner was suggesting, and I think your indication was, this is simply an indication of an interest in going forward with the process, and I think that's absolutely fine. Alternate 27 doesn't exist. The numbers, if there's any way you could do something about the numbers, I'm sure we're going to keep 420 on the front of the Grady House for some time, because everyone's still looking for 420 when they come to our address. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, please, when the county pushes back and says, no, we can't put 4th Avenue back underneath the sign in some way, I want 5 of you to scream back at them and do something for the people in this town on that issue when we went to bat for you to save your money in getting the county dispatch system. That was for your money. Well, now it's our money, and we're losing it. And I want you folks to go to bat for us. Thank you.
Mayor. Paul.
Yep.
Your biggest thing is you want to get it changed from US 27, just for the simple fact it does kind of sound like it's out of town. You're not exactly what it gets changed to, not that big a deal to you?
Less important to me.
Okay.
Yeah, some human being named straight. West Skiles sounds really nice. I mean, from what I know about West Skiles, that's a good local name. You know, Skeet Easterlin Street. I mean, I don't know if she was well enough known. I'm just kidding. But I mean, if there's a person who's got a better local name than West Skiles, the problem with picking out a name is that you haven't compared the alternatives. And that's what the process that Scott's talking about does. And that is, you know, someone says Paul Regensdorf Street. Yeah, okay, Paul's a decent guy. Let's name it after him. But wait a minute. There's 10 other people who are better and more important and have been here longer and served this community better than Regensdorf. Oh, good point. So when you look into it, you find a better name. Today, West Skiles is as good as I can come up with. I cannot think of any decent railroad name that doesn't have sort of a scatological secondary meaning to it that makes any sense. So I can't think of a good railroad name. And I spent a fair amount of time writing down the ones. I don't like any of them. I mean,
So
there's some.
you wouldn't want to be on Hobo Avenue?
Well, I thought the Hobo was really a minimal one. There's a couple of them. I wish I brought my legal pad from the last meeting, because there's a couple of great railroad expressions that in today's vernacular, when you say those out loud, people go, whoa, wait a minute, you shouldn't be saying that out loud. But yet that's what they were called. So yes, some change of the name. West Skiles is a very good start and maybe the end. But the better process is let it percolate a little bit. Let people think maybe there is a better name in the community that should be recognized than West Skiles. And that's the process. Rather than just grabbing a name and saying that's a good one, that's it. The secondary choice is people can't find us. And having street signs with an alternate street under it. And I've been in cities that have that. I've been in cities that have that. And with all due respect, for all of the 77 addresses that are duplicated, that's the only ones. It's just not a safety concern. I defy anyone to say that it's a safety concern. And when the dispatch got a phone call from somewhere and didn't know that it was coming from area code 386 up here, 454, and sent someone down to Gainesville for that dispatch vehicle, that's the anecdote that this gentleman told us about last time, that's a bunch of hooey. If that happened, then it's a complete failure of the dispatcher, not the failure of the addresses. So yes, a name would be nice. Something about the addresses would be nice, although I don't know how you're going to do that.
I'm sure we can
That's
do
a
that.
different subject.
I know it's a different subject. I'm just trying to. I don't want to take all your time, and there's all kinds of people here that want to talk. So I want to give them all that time, but it's just causing a problem, and every single day it's becoming more and more of a problem. So, but that's my biggest concern right now is the street. That's what the commissioner was talking about. Let's fight that battle first. But please go to the county, or just get your street people to go out and start taping up signs underneath their signs to say formerly 4th Avenue, and don't tell the county. I don't care how you get it done. And then when they yell at you, you yell back. We got 5 people, and we elected all of you guys to yell back, and I know you can do it. Go get them. And you got a lawyer to back you up.
We can put brown signs underneath.
Right.
Well, they've got it in Gainesville.
Yeah.
They've got it right down by the school board where they show it Oak Street and now it's 2nd Avenue.
Yeah.
So that's not an issue.
Right.
We asked about that.
Yeah.
Right.
When they did it, we asked, could you put the 2nd Street
And,
on it?
and we can do that without a big cost. We can order those signs and put them up.
We'll just order them and put them up there. I'm not gonna ask for permission.
No.
But again, it's time. It really kind of wiped out a month to put up all these signs. I need a little leeway, and then we'll turn around and put up the brown signs for at least 1st Avenue.
So I guess my question would be is, explain this process then, and the timing on it.
Well, what you would do is you would determine a name and direct staff to research the name, and then the city manager is responsible to bring back a biographical sketch of that person. And if that meets your approval and you say still go forward, then legal prepares a resolution that, yes, we do want to, we'll use the West Giles example. We want to name the street West Giles Street from this point to this point. And my understanding, a quick review of the code says that you're going to post notices along the way and notify the residents along the street. So the residents and businesses that the city is going to change the name of the street. So there's plenty of notice that we're doing what it is that we're doing, and people can come forward and be heard, and the notice will say, this street is being named West Giles Street. It is going to be considered for resolution and adoption at our first meeting of March, or, you know, that kind of. And there's a 20-day time frame that at the point you post it, you cannot have your resolution read before that 20 days runs. So you give a little bit of time as well. That's the process.
So at this point, the process would be, we take a vote on this particular motion that's on the floor. If it passes, then the direction would be to the manager to come back with the information. If it fails, then someone can make a motion for another name, whether it's a train name, or whatever, and then we would still go through that process.
I actually think it's a little different if it's a train name,
On which you would
because
research.
you're not honoring anybody, and
Right.
this is for honorariums, is kind of the way this is set up.
But we would still have to do the notice to the citizens, I would assume, that we're going to change it to a train name, right?
We probably would do that notice,
Since
although
that's-
this is for honorary designation of a street or a building or some public land
Okay.
after a name of an individual, is the way I'm reading it.
That's all, it
Okay.
was like when we did on the old school where we did the,
Yes, right.
But this all came about when we named F.L. Hickman.
No, did it?
That's when we came up with this process. And that's my point, you know. Please, nothing against White Scout, nothing. I met the gentleman, but we had so many other people. Tom Dieterman, F.L. Hickman, Essie Gassett, Anthony Taylor, and the list go on and on and on that contribute to this community. I mean, contribute to this community, born in this community, lived in this community, taught in this community. Again, I have nothing against White Scout, but I think that would be an insult to some of the people that really have served this community in a mighty way, a mighty way.
gotcha.
Yeah, understand
No
perfectly.
problem.
Let's vote on it, see if the
Yeah.
majority of us want to do it.
Road doesn't insult anybody.
Yeah. Call the question.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. All in favor, come by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Here, hold on.
Would you vote? Yes or no?
What was,
Was to name it West Giles.
West Giles.
oh, I misunderstood you. Nay.
Okay,
Sorry.
motion didn't carry. Okay.
Paul had me confused with Reagan Norris Road. I liked it
Yeah.
so much. I'm sorry.
You voting no on that one?
Did the motion pass?
No.
No.
Okay. What, I mean, just, are we gonna talk
Can you put
about
those names up
what
there?
else we wanna name it, or are we
It's a
gonna?
possibility now, we want to name it a railroad name or another name.
Right. Can you put it up?
As they're doing that, Mr. Mayor, can we, because I think the smaller sign thing, I think regardless of what its name needs to be done.
Yes.
Can we direct the city manager as we're doing this to proceed with that, at least get that rolling, so we're not waiting 6 months from now to put the little sign up there? I mean, is that something we can go ahead and put in process, irregardless of what we name this road? We want to have this done.
Yeah, I don't think your procedure prohibits you from doing that.
Okay.
That you can do.
can we just by consensus, just ask the city manager to start the
Well,
process?
It's an expense, so you may want to do a motion,
And that's what I'm,
you know?
How much are we
well,
asking
I'm
him to
saying,
do?
well, I'm just saying, can he come back? All I'm saying, can he
Oh,
come back and give us a price on what it would cost to do that, so then we've got it?
Okay.
Yeah, and then that way it'll be on the agenda then.
Right, I mean, I'd rather get that started, so we're not waiting 2 weeks from now, and now we're asking that same question. Let's go ahead and get the information so we can deal with it.
Are we asking him to do every single road that got renamed?
No, just
just
First Avenue.
Okay.
So you'll do that and bring it back and give us a cost on what it would be? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because if I remember right, at the last meeting, when we asked about what the cost would be if we renamed the road, I think 1,500, yeah. So it's probably around the same thing, but
No, we-
ground signs may
could be
cost,
close, but it may be smaller.
yeah.
But this will be smaller and cheaper.
Right, okay. But we'll know.
Mr. Mayor, just thinking of your process for putting somebody on a board or that sort of thing, you all make your suggestions and then you vote on filling the members, and if you have a bunch of people that wanna be on a board, then you kind of, then consider that and decide what to do. One of the procedures that maybe a similar procedure to that would be to come up with some names, submit those to your manager, and then you all can consider or rank the names or something of that nature. I don't know.
You read my mind on that. Yeah, and I was thinking maybe we ask commissioners.
Top three?
Top
three.
Top three. But we know we got this list right here. But only one that really,
My only question, the one on that list, Depot, isn't there still a portion
Yeah.
of road
There's a-
in Gainesville that's
yeah,
Depot
Depot
Avenue?
Avenue.
So wouldn't that automatically be disqualified?
yeah.
Since
I
we
think-
did all this, so we wouldn't have, yeah.
Does anyone have a favorite on here that would, maybe we all agree, right? I don't know.
But the only one that really appears to me, that's me now, the junction. But all the rest of it, railway, I've got a railroad.
Right.
Cross tie,
No,
I don't like that.
I liked either junction or locomotive. I didn't like any others, but
Maybe I like station,
That was what I chose.
since we did have, I mean, it's pretty close to where stations were at one
So,
time.
can I make a suggestion? We'll come back with 3 names. And then we'll rank the 3.
3 names of what?
of
So the
the,
railroad names. If you think of something, no, I don't wanna do it that way neither. But,
or,
3 names off this. We could call it Booth Junction.
I was thinking about that.
Call
Well,
it what?
let me ask you this, if we can,
An attorney in the audience.
yeah, let me ask you this, if we, at this point, 3 have been listed, 3 have been named, unless one of the other commissioners has another one they prefer, then, I mean, I'm just trying to think if there's not something that we can go ahead and do tonight. If we've got those 3 out there, junction, switch, or junction, station,
Locomotive.
locomotive, you know, then we rate them now. If those are the 3 that the commissioners are okay with, unless they want to think about it for a while, I mean.
I don't think, if there's the 3, excuse me, we need to do it. I don't think you need to sit and wait another 2 weeks and then another 2 weeks. I mean, this is something that needs to be expedited because you have people changing driver's license and so forth. So I think to say, let's put it off 2 weeks and then come back, I think is not right. If we've got 3 of them up there, let's rank them now, let's get it. I don't think you need to go through the process if you do this one. They didn't go through the process when they just named the roads. So I don't think you'd have to do the notification. They didn't do it when they did this, right? They didn't put signs out everywhere. County didn't.
I'm okay with, and personally, I'm okay with either junction or station at this point. Junction Avenue, Station Avenue.
So now, let me ask this question now. So if we do this, so we gonna say from, I know a little piece in there called alternate 20, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So from Bell's is really considered as
Right.
441, her address is
Yeah,
441.
but behind it.
Yeah, but from that,
From the Sunoco station, whatever
Yeah.
that is. So from there to, I guess up to about
The river.
Mike Kearney, somewhere out there in that area.
Mhm.
So, okay, this is West Keith, so we would have to call it West Junction Boulevard Avenue, whatever.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
I would think so. Who knows? It'll either be West or West Junction or West Station, or it'll just be Junction Avenue or Station Avenue.
That's what I think. I think it'll just be whatever it is that you name it, but
Yeah.
not the
It'll be
directional
northwest.
part of it. Because that's what they took out. On my address specifically, they didn't change the name, of course, but they took out the direction on it. It was southeast. It's no longer southeast. It's just Railroad Avenue.
So it don't say west?
It don't, there's no directional.
Well, you could pick the name and then you could ask them.
Yeah, just
that's
pick the
fine.
name, and if it
Whatever's
has to have a
appropriate.
northwest
Then you
or
put
whatever,
northwest
then
on
it
it.
gets put on front, or
Yeah.
on the front of it.
I think somebody wanted to say something.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, that's, okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Kearney? You just got to raise your hand a little higher.
I still have to say my name if you already know what it is.
Just for the record.
It's Mike Kearney. Well, I wasn't at this meeting when whoever it was said that it had to be a railroad name. I don't know how they can dictate that to us. But, and I hear y'all talking about this, but you know, I look at our logo for the city. Why do we want to have a railroad? And we tore up the railroad tracks. They're gone. So there's really nothing left in this town about a railroad except for the caboose and our visitor center. So it's just another point that, you know, our logo shows a river and we're sitting on top of the aquifers. Why do people come here? People come here to go to the river and go kayaking or canoeing or to enjoy our outdoors. So, you know, railroad world is kind of dead.
Well, Mike, I understand what you're saying. But old fogies like me,
I'm older than you.
I remember the railroad here.
I know.
No, let me finish. The railroad put High Springs on the map.
Yeah, I agree
Yes,
with
sir,
it
it did. You
But
had plenty of people coming through here from such and such a place because of the railroad.
I
Yes,
hear
we
you.
might have changed that logo, but the railroad will always be the part of the history of High Springs, Florida.
for the old people, but you know, we're trying to move this city and this little town in the right direction, and all the
That's
new
like
people
changing
coming to
American
town.
history. We can't change American history for the old folks.
Then why do we have this as our logo? Why isn't that a chain engine up there staring at me?
No, I can't answer
I
that
just wanted to
question,
throw
Mike.
my opinion in here for what it was worth. You know how pushy I am.
Yeah, don't despise us of the railroad. Please don't.
From my understanding, the reason that the county and dispatch and everybody would prefer a railroad name, Micanopy was in the same situation as we were. They switched over, they had some roads that didn't really conform, so they, if I'm not badly mistaken, they renamed all their roads Indian names
Yes.
or Native American names.
Right.
That way, when dispatch tells units, whether it's fire, police, whatever, go to, and I don't know any of the names, so if I'm just using examples, if they say go to Osceola Boulevard, they know, well, that's Micanopy, let's get heading towards Micanopy, we'll figure out exactly where it's at later on. That's, I believe, why they would prefer us stick with a railroad name. That way, when a railroad name gets called out, everybody knows, let's go to High Springs. They don't have to look at the map. They don't have to figure out which way they're going from the station. They know to go to High Springs.
Okay. And also, I guess we need to, again, we got to contact the people about the address change. And for those people that already changed their address on their license, such and such and such and such. Now, we got to take these people through this all over again. They're going to have to take that in consideration. Take that in consideration.
I think our plan is that if you change your driver's license for the second time, because we've changed the address, we'll give you a credit on your bill. We'll take the funds out of the general fund, but the truth is, they're probably going to be only a couple at most. And the cost is $6 per driver's license.
So that's why the expedience of this, to me,
Yes.
is important also,
Right.
so it doesn't linger, that we go ahead and we do what needs to be done and get it, and so the people get, and they can do that.
Yes, sir.
Me personally, I'd like to select one tonight, but I would like
to at least wait till the next meeting to adopt it. That way, kind of like how this one was adopted, Highway 27, nobody likes it. Say we pick Junction out, and 50 people come in and say, well, we hate Junction. Well, if we decide tonight to change it to Junction, and then all of a sudden the next meeting we want to change it again, I just think if nothing else, if we could wait at least one meeting before we do officially decide to change it. I don't know if that would be prudent or not, but that's just my thinking.
Well, what we could do is, as you indicated, if we decide on a name tonight, and then make sure that we send a letter out to the 125, I believe, individuals, that at the next meeting, that this is what we're planning to do, so that they know and they can come to the next meeting. I mean, I would like to go ahead and do it tonight, but I do believe that the residents and the business owners along First Avenue, US 27, whatever it is now, should be notified that this is what it's going to be called.
Yes.
Trying to reconstruct the list that I made up 2 weeks ago, and I can't find it. But one of them was Roundhouse Road. I mean, that there was a roundhouse right opposite the Grady House. Whistle, a railroad whistle. Think of what makes people remember railroads is hearing railroad whistles in the distance. I mean, one of the fun ones is Gandy Dancer. I mean, I realize there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean anything bad. There are a couple that do mean something bad, but that's not one of them. That just means a railroad worker. I'm just throwing them out. I'm not sure Gandy Dancer is going to catch any votes, but Roundhouse or Whistle might get into the top three.
Any other discussion?
I'll make a motion that we name what is now US 27 Junction Avenue.
And we'll notify
And part of that motion is that
finalize it next
we will
meeting.
finalize it, notify the residents and businesses along US 27 and, Petticoat.
All right, Uncle Joe.
Send out a notice to those individuals, and at the next meeting, we adopt it unless there's objections.
Second.
We will send out 125 letters telling everybody it'll be Junction.
Well, it's, don't say it's going to be.
Yeah.
This is what's
Then we're
recommended.
gonna
What is recommended.
And
Don't say that it's gonna be.
And it'll be voted on at the first
This
meeting
is
in
what is
February.
proposed,
whatever that is.
Right.
and it'll be voted on. Junction what?
Junction Avenue.
I apologize, I didn't hear that part, I apologize.
Did we get a second on this?
Mm-hmm. Jason?
I was paying attention that time.
Any other discussion? Okay, and nothing else, all in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries.
Can I just add something, Mr. Mayor, please? Mr. Booth, when the letter goes out, or Jenny, whoever did the letter go out, would it be, and Scott, if you would, John, on this one, would it be written at that time in the letter, this is what's being, and then put something in there, if you have not done your license yet, please hold off until this? I mean, is there some way we could work something into the letter which would, I don't know, I'm just asking, so somebody doesn't go out and get it changed, and then all of a sudden, here it goes. If they wait another 2 weeks, you follow what I'm saying? If somehow, Scott, if you could come up with some wording that would go in that letter, just to sort of maybe prevent somebody from having to do it twice.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
But I think most people aware that they got up to a year to change
Yeah.
it.
It may also be something of an information piece to let them know in that letter that, well, we can't do it, I guess, until we know what the cost is and vote on it, but that we are also considering putting, adding the First Avenue sign on the bottom for ease of
people finding the businesses for a while. I don't know how you work that into the letter, but something like that. That makes sense.
All right, with nothing else on that, we'll move on to item number 2. Discuss and consider items for wild spaces, public places funding.
Jenny and I came up with this list. The county is going to go out for additional sales tax. And we voted, I guess, to go along with it, which is probably, if they're going to go get, we should get our share. But in there, we have to give them a list of projects. You don't have to do all the projects, but if you're going to do a project, it has to be part of the list. One recommendation to add to it from Mr. Jameson is there is some property just to the east of the baseball field on 441. That property is up for sale. That might be a decent property to buy, especially if we want to expand someday baseball fields or put in more shuffleboard courts or something like that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, two things on this. One is what has to be presented to the county is a priority on these items, and also the cost of these items. And the projection is that over this 8-year period that they're proposing this goes into effect, that the city would receive about $2 million over that 8-year period. And they suggest that, and I would suspect that with what we have here, that would be a lot more than the $2 million, but they suggest you go over the $2 million. In case you get some money to come in, then you can push it down to the next one. The other thing is, at least on one of these, like the Rails to Trails, if that's included in the list, then what we ought to do is put an asterisk next to it with a notation of a possible joint project with the county. The county indicated when they were talking about this that if we indicate some of these projects that they believe is something the county would also be of interest, that they may spend or designate some of their money as well to go towards that city's project. And obviously this Rails to Trails is something that would also benefit the county too if we were to put this on the list.
What is the time frame on this?
The time frame, they have to have this by they want it by February 15th, I think. Sometime in February. I have it somewhere.
When we put it in, I'll put estimates. They'll be well over $2 million. Mm-hmm. But the commission needs to probably look at it, right. Prioritize.
Could we come back at the February 11th meeting? Would that give us time if we rank them?
It would be almost immediate.
Well, let's see. Okay, yeah, the projects are due to the county by February 15th, so we could do it the first.
So if we were to do on the agenda on the 11th, we need to come back and rank these?
Mm-hmm. Right.
In the meantime, you'll come up with the dollar amount, so that'll be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll just have our list of priorities.
What I need now is if there are any other projects you think you would like to see.
I like the addition of Commissioner Jameson's idea. I think, if there is property for sale by the baseball fields, that would be I like the idea of the community center gym and the additional property from him. Eventually, me personally, I would like to see something, maybe not quite on the scale, but something similar to what Alachua has, where we can consolidate everything down. We have a Memorial Stadium, we have what's behind the cemetery. It would be nice to be able to consolidate everything down and have a gymnasium of some sort for indoor sports at that location. And I think both of those would be good on that list. So I'd be in favor of adding all the ones that are currently on the list and the addition of Commissioner Jameson's idea.
We'll have it on the next agenda along with cost. There'll be very rudimentary costs.
Right.
But it'll be within the ballpark.
Good enough.
Anyone from the audience? Anyone from the audience?
I have one question.
Yes.
The community center gym, where is the proposal for that to be placed? Is that over by the Civic Center?
No, probably the property. Yeah, that is the most centralized place.
Okay.
So, you know, we have some areas in that area that we own property. Some's owned by the cemetery, but, we would have to cut out an area for the gym.
All right. The reason why I ask is because since it says community center, when I see community center, I associate that with the old school as being, we have a civic center and we have a community center. That's the only reason why I was wondering if you were thinking of putting it back here somewhere, but
No,
by the civic center is fine.
Civic, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we don't have to actually nail down exactly.
No, I just was curious as to. I think, you know, if it goes out on referendum, you would want people to know kind of exactly what it is. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Ms. Booth, you got it?
Got it.
All right, move on to item number 3, discuss and determine direction of staff regarding to the collection of delinquent utility accounts.
Yes, sir. We actually are getting some direction from our auditors. At the current time, we have $114,484 of delinquent bills. What I'm recommending is that we write off all those bills from 2010 and earlier, which will amount to $31,281. That the attorneys have already vetted a corporation. They're working with, I believe, Newberry and a few other cities that we look to doing some kind of a contract with them. Still have to come back to the commission, and then that we start the collection. You know, as an example, I mean, this is not unusual. The city of Orlando is writing off $11 million worth of parking tickets, and they're going to be more aggressive in collecting their fees for the last couple of years, and we would do the same thing. However, given the nature of our community, we want to do it with a velvet glove rather than
A bat.
a bat. Thank you.
If you remember the contract that was brought,
had reviewed it, we brought the collection policy, which y'all approved back in May of last year. At the time when you approved it, you said before we go to actually using a collection agency to come back here to the commission. And that's what Mr. Booth is asking, that they can help from 2011 forward to start helping us collect them. And we can determine how long we want to keep it in-house and try the collection, whether we want to do 30, 60, 90 days before we send it to them. That is something that can be in agreement with them.
You have a question? Yes.
No, I mean, I think we ought to do it. I was for it when it was brought up before. I mean, that's money that the people who are paying their bills are supplementing, so to speak, because if you don't get the revenue, you have to create it somewhere else. So therefore, people are actually spending more to make up for those who aren't spending. So I think we need to do it. I would probably be for 60 days, me personally, 60 days, and then try to do it in-house once you get beyond 60 days. Or if they actually move, it would kick it right off the bat. But so that's my thoughts.
Mr. Mayor, I think we need to move forward on this as well. And I think we've looked at this, and it's just going to get higher. We're just going to have more money that's owed to us, and if we don't put a stop to it, it's just going to continue.
Yes.
I agree with the other two commissioners. The only thing is, instead of 60, me personally, I just prefer 90, because like the city manager said, instead of a bat, I think we do need to do some gloves. I mean, we're a small town, we're in the South, we're a little laid back, so, maybe you forget, maybe you have an accident, whatever. Give them 90 days and then
I'm good.
It's fine.
do what you have to do.
I think 90 days is a good time.
I just would like to add, the majority of these people are no longer in the city.
90 days if in city. Can you separate it if they're still in the city, 90
Yes.
days, and then if they
And
go ahead and move?
and if they do open another account in their name, and they have not paid their old bill, they cannot open that new account until they pay off the old account. So that is already happening, and it has been happening. So you can't have like an old balance just sit there and open a new account.
So could you change the 90 days if you're still living in the city, if you're not 60 or something like that?
Can you do both?
I mean,
Yes.
would that work?
Oh, yeah, you can do, that's, kind of our agreement, our conditions that we put to them, how we're gonna turn it over. I mean.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
I mean.
And we also will work with them too, we wouldn't even turn over to a collection agency if they wanted to work out a payment plan. So we have people now on payment plans.
So what do we need on this one here?
Direction, a motion?
Mr. Booth can sign this agreement.
Well, then we would have to do a motion for him to sign the agreement then, to authorize him to sign the agreement.
Has anything been changed since it was brought up in May?
No, and if you want to look at it again?
No, we looked at it.
Okay. I'll make a motion then to authorize the city manager to go ahead and enter into this agreement for the collection of the delinquent utility accounts, and I'll specify in that motion that a 90-day grace period be given.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion or questions?
I just want to make sure on this one here that the people know that there is no cost to us on this. We only reap, they get a percentage of it, so we're not putting out any money. Okay, I think that's important, so this is no cost to us. Whatever they collect is a bonus because it's gone right now.
Right.
Okay.
No one else? All in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, review of December 2015 financial statements.
Right, the last time we saw October, November, this is December, and again, everything is right in line. We're receiving a little more money in revenue, and I don't see any problems in the near future either. Everybody's in line with their salary expenditures. We may have to change a little money as we go to solve water problem, but I think that's in the budget anyway. We just change a few line items around.
Mr. Mayor, in going through this, I've seen, there's two things in here that I have a bit of problem with, and in that particular line item is over the amount that was budgeted, and as long as the overage is, at the end of the day, end of the year, is contained within that department's budget, then I'm okay. And one example is in the finance department, the audit is now $9,000 over what was budgeted. And as long as within the finance department, that money is made up for that line, I'm okay. What I don't want to see is any money coming out of our contingency to take care of this.
And it's when the Sue actually posted it, she put it all to that. There's actually part of it has to go to water and sewer, so it's just got to be respread.
Okay.
It's not over.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Yeah. That's it. All right, moving on. Consider placing advertisements on the new High Spring Chamber of Commerce map.
They're asking for the city to pay for advertisement. and strictly up to the commission to either approve it or not.
Yes, sir.
I'll stop talking tonight, I promise. Chamber does a lot for the city, from the Christmas parade to tree lighting to a bunch of other things throughout the year. And I mean, it's good to have a chamber. I'd be in favor of getting an ad. Now, as far as how much, I don't think we should go overboard on it.
No.
But, I mean, a modest ad, I think, would be good for us and the chamber.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Is, would that be something that the CRA, because they have advertising, could they
And I don't think
pay
so.
for the advertising since they have that? Yes or no? I don't know.
I don't believe so.
Amanda Rodriguez, we could purchase advertising for the CRA, but not for the city.
Hopefully the chamber's not watching the meeting and finds that out. So.
You got a question?
Yes.
Small point, Paul Regensburg. That's going to press very quickly, and it's got a 2-year shelf life. And if we don't know the names of the streets, it's going to be very difficult to put something in that's meaningful. And I was sitting here, I've come across a new name. I know it's not the agenda items, you've already talked about it, but I actually very much like the name Iron Horse. It's an old historical name for a railroad, Iron Horse. I suggest that I throw that out to you and have a good night. I'm serious, I'm not kidding about that. Unlike Andy Dancer, which I didn't think was going to fly. But Iron Horse, I think, is a really good name.
You'd have liked it if we'd have named it Grady Dancer.
Regensdorf Road, I'm just throwing it out. It sounds really good to me.
May I ask, Ms. Rogers, do you know what their deadline is? Would you happen to know what that is?
When I haven't seen this until Jenny sent me the agenda, so no, I do
okay.
not.
All right, well, this says January 8th. I mean, so I wouldn't think I would think there's still time that would, at least get us to the point of the next 2 weeks when our February meeting comes up, that we could then say, okay, this is going to be the name of First Avenue, 27, whatever it is. And I would, Commissioner Evans is absolutely correct. The chamber does a lot for us, and not only what he mentioned, but they also man the volunteers that man the chamber office over there and do a lot for directing visitors to different places here for us. So I would suggest a half page, maybe $550. And I guess the question is, whose budget does that come out of?
Yeah, good question.
Mr. Manager?
Probably commission.
We have money in the commission budget to handle that? Yes. Okay. So at this point, I'll make a motion for a half-page ad of $550 in the chamber map.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, for the half page,
$50, half-page ad.
for $550. Any other discussion? Any other questions? So I guess, Mr. Manager, you will come up with whatever the ad gonna say, and
That's right. I'll get with the CRA and we'll come up with a nice advertisement for the city.
the audience gone, huh? All in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Please. Would it be prudent, Mr. Booth, in the next budget, and Jennifer maybe on the deal, would it be prudent to actually put a line item somewhere in there and add something in public relations, advertisement or something?
Or miscellaneous items,
I mean,
perhaps.
just something.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Here's my reason behind it.
Yeah.
I would like for us to be able to sit there and say that we planned ahead and it's there, as opposed to having to take it out of another line item for something that came up. If we don't use the money in the public relations line item, then you've got it to shift someplace else. I just think it looks better if we have designated line items for items. So if we could do that in the next budget, I'd appreciate it.
In the commission, yeah,
Yeah.
discretionary, which I'm sure the auditors wouldn't like that either.
Just like in parentheses beside it, put Sue's miscellaneous.
Not mine, no, engineers say that. I'm gonna say the city managers. Blame everything on him.
Righty. City attorney report? City manager?
Well, yeah, I was gonna pass, but we had a young lady from UF who had a grade dependent upon my coming up with some golden nugget, I guess.
But she left.
And she's
Well,
not in here
no,
anymore.
Oh, she's outside? Oh, okay.
Regensdorf is giving her
Oh,
golden
okay.
nuggets right now. God only knows what's going to be. I had a video conference today. I also emailed, and that really took me off the TechStars designation. But that should tell you something. I have a video conference. You have a memorandum of what it was and who it was with. It was DEP, it was my staff, along with the Rural Water Management District. And we've come up with that, the conclusion that the hydrogen peroxide treatment is probably the best one to do. We're going to visit Perry on Wednesday because they have the system, and they're very happy with it. We want to make sure, even though the cost seems to be minimal, we want to make sure whatever we do has some positive effect. I'm working with Midtower on the water redevelopment project. It came slightly over budget. We're looking to reduce maybe some costs, get a little extra funds from the Suwannee River Water Management District, but we're on top of that. Hopefully by the next meeting, we'll come back and tell you that we're ready to proceed. We've gone with the second bidder. I will have a list next commission meeting with 10 properties along with miscellaneous other properties to put into surplus. The idea is that we want to sell the 10 properties and take that money then and start condemning some properties and taking them down, either burning them or actually using equipment to knock those down. We have a whole lot of them. We haven't done this for many years. That's where we got the other 51 properties. And what we'd like to do is continue the process of condemning them, selling them, and then moving on. So that ought to be about a 2 or 3 year project. And we'll start that really in the next council meeting. Trees, I'm bringing to the commission, the Planning and Zoning Board, a tree ordinance. It came to our attention when the gentleman cut down all his trees down on 27 or First Avenue or whatever we're calling it, Junction Boulevard, that our ordinance is very weak. And the ability to actually stop him isn't there. And Gainesville has a very good ordinance. I want to have our attorney review that, bring it to the P&Z, and then bring it towards the council. But we need to do something because we might be able to make him do some mitigation, but there isn't anything in there that allows us to stop him. And so we need to have that kind of power if people are going to do what they do. Had a meeting with the county manager And the county is willing to pay for a water line going across 441 into their facility, not too far from the ball fields. Their well is contaminated, and they need the city water in that area.
You talk about to the rescue.
The rescue facility. We may look, and I'll look at the cost of upgrading that, so to get the water on the other side. At the same time, if we're doing one project, it might behoove us to take sewer across that. We're talking about economic development, then all that land on that side of the road will be shovel ready. We've been talking with the city managers of Alachua and Newberry about the interlocal agreements, and that's not going real well. A lot of the commissions really don't want to move forward. I think it has to do with their boundary with Gainesville rather than our boundaries with us. So for us, it's not a major problem at all if we don't bound those. And actually, the people wanting to annex is to the west of us.
But it does mean if there aren't any local agreements, then those boundaries, our reserve area goes away.
It can, that's true. I mean, it's open for
grabs.
But right now, we all own a fair amount of property around our cities. I don't see any of this. In fact, we have an unspoken agreement or a spoken agreement between the city managers that any time they see that they're going to have some annexations, we'll sit down and talk. But the reality is that none of us have the ability to take utilities out that far. It's very expensive to get water and sewer out there, even Alachua, and they have limitations. It just can't move in that direction very quickly. So we don't see that's happening between any of the managers. And that is it.
Evans?
I had it up on my phone and I missed it. Well, my tablet died on me, so. Okay. Well, since I'm the CRA chair, I just want to mention an email that we all received from Amanda Rodriguez, our CRA director. Yeah, it just states that in 2015 in the CRA district, there were 91 for-profit and non-for-profit businesses, not including churches. And as of January 21st, 2016, there are 103, total increase of 12 businesses. I just brought that up because I just wanted to say I think that means we're on the right track. We're doing what we need to do. The CRA is also doing what it needs to do to make High Springs suitable for business, and every year increase isn't bad.
Yep.
And that's all.
I have one item, and the manager and I were at a meeting today. Yesterday, yeah. The county is looking at producing a stormwater manual, which they are looking to have it before them to vote on by June. I will be placing on the next month's agenda a resolution for this commission to request that they delay that implementation, that they give more time for the review of it, because they are moving very, very fast with it. And for all of our cities, our municipalities, it will affect us, what they're requesting and in such time that we can see the case studies. At this meeting, they were talking about these case studies where they change, what they change and the new different ideas, and they may be good, but we want to see with the case studies that they've hired these companies to do. We want to see those case studies to see how that changes the footprint of these stormwater basins and how it affects development. So I just want to let you know, I think we should be trying as commissioners to
at least request the county to give more time for the municipalities to take a look at this.
The hidden agenda, as the county manager finally admitted to, is that they want to permit the stormwater. And there won't be anything that kills our development faster. Because all of a sudden they put themselves in the middle of development of cities. It has nothing to do with stormwater. There really isn't any real problem here. All the studies they provided were state studies. And I do believe there's probably a problem within the state, but there's nothing they showed that said Alachua had a quality or even quantity problem. It is they just really want to put themselves in the middle of permitting our development.
That's it.
James?
I just have this one question. There's a pothole out there by me, as you guys well know, because every 4 or 5 months, you guys come out there and fill it. And as soon as it rains, that pothole is back again.
I have, I have just directed David to get some asphalt for our asphalt heater so that we can start putting asphalt instead of that coal patch.
Yeah.
Because that coal patch lasts about a week.
It doesn't last long at all.
And so we're
you just keep repeating.
Right. And I know he's got a lot of things on his plate, but I made sure that this time when the season comes around for us to repair, we will have that machine go.
Very good. That's it.
That's all y'all have, y'all. Dates for the agenda, so make sure on the 18th, the goals workshop, bring the goals in, we can discuss them. Also, Mayor Gibbs gave me this to give to all the commissioners, Jen, I guess you can make a copy and give to everyone else. The 77 Calumet Banquet, and that's in March. So if you can make copies and give all to the commissioners. And I think cost for donations is $50. Corporate table for 8 is $600. 12 paid program ad. So you can make copies of that. Commissioners. I also went to a meeting at the school board today. Currency. Boy, there's so many young people in this area. Little people in elementary school.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Scott, I didn't think that many of the kids was in this area. But at the year 2018, we've been 100% at the elementary school.
Right. Well, that's concurrency. That's not what the school says. I think they're saying that we're at 100% now. But
yeah, well, we're at right now they at 99%.
You'll find that most of the schools on this side are over 100.
Yeah.
They're addressing that.
Yeah, because I think everything want to come west. The good living. So I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention, Mr. Silverback.
Thank you. You bet. We are making arrangements to give, or not to give, but to make arrangements for 2 acres that are available on this side of the school, which is right next to them, to be available when they need it. That was all part of that 16 acres that we done.
That's amazing, though. But when it comes down to middle school, like it drops off. I don't understand that.
But what you get now, once you go to middle school, you start getting the advent of all the magnets. And so what you'll get is you'll get quite a few of them go to Lincoln, Bishop, Oakview. And so that's where, when it drops, is because they start filtering out for the magnets.
I have. There's nothing else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.